Welcome, everyone. It is 3 p.m. in Kitsap County. It is November 2nd. It's Wednesday. October is gone. Halloween is over. October went by so quickly. Uh, the sad thing is once Halloween comes up, you see the Halloween, things for sale in the store, and they're typically now next to Thanksgiving and Christmas things, and it's like soon it'll be over. Everything's on clearance, and then it's back to just the regular part of the year. So sad, but this is my favorite time of year, so I'm super happy. I'm excited. But today is our conversation in housing. And of course, we have the Bremerton Housing Authority and KCR. So, first up is our own Katie Sharp. Hello, Katie.
Thank
How are
you.
you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks. Yes, November already. It's hard to believe.
It's very stressful. I think I need to. So the good thing about the fall is that's when I start drinking tea again. So I drink coffee during the rest of the year, and then in the fall I pull out the teas, and it's so great.
I'm trying to tell my kids my kids like tea, and they were surprised when I said, that has caffeine in it, and actually sometimes has more caffeine than coffee. I hear.
I heard that, but I don't feel like that when I drink tea, right? Because that's my
Right.
reason
I
for
don't
drinking
know.
coffee.
I know because you feel like you're drinking water. So.
Yes, yes. And I almost wonder, am I really drinking the coffee for the creamer? Am I drinking creamer or am I really drinking coffee? So it's just one of those things. I like it sweet.
Yeah,
Thank you
I
for joining
agree.
us there, Mr. Dent. Good to see you. So we had our event last week and we'll talk about that. It seems like it's been a while since I've seen you.
I know. I feel the same way. I mean, you had the event last week. We had just done the wait list, so we haven't talked about that yet. Where we opened the public housing wait list for 8 hours, which it seems like a short time, but because we don't have many public housing units, it was a good amount of time. And because everything we learned about opening the Section 8 wait list in May, um, we felt like this went much smoother. It was much easier for everyone, and we gave more equitable resources to everyone to be able to apply. So we can talk a little bit about that, and we're excited because it was truly a successful waitlist opening, and we're happy to have that as a kind of a proving grounds for opening more waitlists through our Rent Cafe system and more online resources. So.
So yeah, let's go into it because I'm interested to hear about the numbers. I love the data and all that good stuff.
It takes us about a week or so to kind of get the numbers. We try to make it equitable. We want to make sure anybody who contacted us who was having issues was able to get in because the application itself only takes about 5 minutes. It's a registration for a Rent Cafe that seems to take the longer time, and it's usually not the user's fault. It's something to do with our provider. So something different we did this time than when we did our last waitlist in May is that instead of providing a bunch of in-person help, we provided a call group of at least 10 volunteers throughout our organization at all times where you call one number and it goes to one of those people. And the neatest thing was that people could do it over the phone then. It's not like, okay, I helped you with that. Now go find a phone, go find a computer and do it. Everybody who was on the phone was right at the computer, so they could actually help them over the phone. It was really, it was really much easier, I think, for everyone. We were all comfortable using the computer. If somebody called, we can get them on the wait list really quickly. We wanted to make sure to provide that service because we found out last time that nobody was visiting us in person, but we only had one person, answering phones and trying to like manage all the calls. And we realized that it was just a simple call that people were trying to get in. So it was really helpful, especially because it was time and date, meaning this wait list had to be ordered and the time you submitted is the position you get. So that was really hard, and we didn't want that to be a burden on anybody. So.
So did it feel to you that it went smooth since this is kind of the second time of
You know, it
Nope.
went a lot
Rent Cafe is set
smoother,
up.
and even though it was only open for 8 hours, we were able to answer all the calls. We were able to field all the calls within the time, and really get connected with people as soon as they called instead of waiting for a message, calling them back. And so it went a lot smoother. And I could confidently say we had at least 700 people apply within the 8 hours. It's more than that,
700?
but at least 700. Yep.
Wow.
It is
Wow.
more than that, but that's a good reason why we um, open it for such a short time, because we could only have like 20 units come up within the year, because people don't move. We don't push people out. So these are units that we own, that you can't take the subsidy with you. It's not a voucher. So it is very different than Section 8. But anybody who had applied for Section 8 prior, who was already in Rent Cafe, it was a quick check box and submit, and you were on the list. So if you're not eligible, you find out after you get to the top. We call you, you submit paperwork, and then we go from there. So it's making the list long. It is long, and it is an administrative burden, but also gives everybody opportunity to actually be on the list and continue to do what they're doing for their housing right now. But they are on the list, so we will call them at some point. So
Nice, nice. So you said it seemed pretty smooth from BHA's side. What about the reports of the feedback from folks that were signing in and emails and things like that? Did it seem like the learning curve and some of the issues were
yeah, so
lessened?
we were able to onboard our in-house, our staff volunteers, knowing what we learned last time, knowing the biggest issues were registration. And there was two big issues where an email was already used in the system before, or that we had your social security number in our system and we needed to connect your record. We knew those were the biggest ones. And so we could provide solutions to those and get people on and off real quickly. So it was good.
That is awesome. Let us welcome in Matt, who came on in. How you doing there, Matt?
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. I don't want you to stay back there in the green room and click off and think I didn't see you. So I was like, let me bring Matt on. But sometimes
No
folks will do
worries.
that. They're like, oh,
Sorry,
I don't see you.
sorry, I was late running from meeting to meeting today. So I
Oh, no worries. No worries. Katie is catching us up with the experience of
Yes.
the roles opening up for a day and what that was like and giving us feedback, which is awesome.
I did feel it went smoother. Even I just think that people were able to get help quicker, and the help they needed immediately, and we weren't kind of forwarding them around or not calling them back in time where they weren't at their phones, and they were just able. It's just immediate help, and we realized that you know over the phone was a lot easier than them showing up to the office. So the fact that they could just call us and we could help them immediately instead of them waiting in a line. So anyway, it really went well. We're very happy with it, and it gives us more confidence to continue to roll out features of self-service Rent Cafe. Because right now, all you can do is update your contact information and apply for waitlists when they're open. But ultimately, we want you to be able to submit paperwork and see your status. But that's kind of a feature down the road. But those are things we want to do with Rent Cafe as people get more comfortable using the technology.
All right. I think that is great. Matt, did KCR have any interaction with folks coming in to sign up that you heard of?
Yeah, we had our case managers help a lot of our folks get signed up that qualified, and we thought that was a pretty good process. Now, I know the day was short, and I'm sure you've kind of talked about the pros and cons of that. And I know, Katie, you were mentioning too, limited spots, right? So it's very
Mhm.
difficult how we distribute these limited spots. So I think that's definitely something to really keep in mind. But that being said, we thought it went well. So yeah, thank you. We're enjoying using Rent Cafe. I think a few hiccups, but by and large, it's a good system, and I hope it's helped. It sounds like it's helping you all manage that information a lot better. Is that Is that what I'm hearing, Katie?
Yeah, and we learned a lot from opening it for 5 days, which was 5 days, 24 hours in the day. This was probably the very first and only waitlist we'll do date and time again. We just did it based on existing policy, but we'll never probably do a date and time list again. So there will always be random selection, which we prefer. So I think this is the longest our public housing waitlist has ever been, because we didn't want to just open it for like 3 hours or 20 minutes, really, because we wanted people to at least get on the list so they don't have to do all this administrative piece again, right? So yeah, the list is like much longer than it's ever been, but we wanted to provide that opportunity to at least get on.
Yeah.
Did I ask how many people were on the list? Did you mention that?
Who applied or who are on the list already?
Just on the list, period. Already.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I think we were exhausting the list. We needed to open it. That's why it kind of came up quick. We needed to open it to get some more people on the list. Yeah. And the only way to open it is through a public outreach campaign and making sure that everybody gets on it. It's not like, oh, we need a person, let's get them in. So.
Oh, that's good. I like it. So, do you have any other updates?
No other updates except Jill came back. Jill is back.
What?
So, yeah.
Welcome back, Jill.
We'll ease her into it. I think she had another meeting today here, but we're excited to have her back. Again, we opened the wait list. She was out for a month, and we had our one of our directors as acting executive director, and everything went really smoothly. And we're excited to give Jill that break, and we're also happy she's back. So
nice. That is awesome news. I'm glad to hear that she is back.
It looks like Matt's excited too.
Very much, yeah. Oh, we're very much pro Jill over here. Doing a great job.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Matt, why don't we switch to you and get some updates, and then I will share the news from the pancake breakfast last week.
Excellent. Yeah, I would actually love to hear more about that, Marwan. So I'm excited.
You don't know the outcome either, huh?
At the same time, I was with Matt. He was doing a lunch and learn with the health department, and then we ended up being in that call together. So.
Yes. There is. There's a lot going on. A lot of really cool stuff. So let's start. Where to start? Okay, let's start with data. That's always a good place to start. It's the first of the month.
Now, Matt, when you jump in there, are you looking at an Excel document?
I am looking at I used to look at our, we have all our data in Airtable. That's our database solution. So I used to pull the numbers from there. But now our data coordinator, Elizabeth, big shout out to Elizabeth. She prepares monthly reports for me specifically for this podcast. So now she has an in her reporting solution or in her reporting responsibilities is a little subset for this podcast. So
all right, let me give her a horn.
You need to give her a horn. There's so many unsung heroes, and Elizabeth is one of those that's just not in the limelight or is just so much behind the scenes, and so much what we do would grind to a halt without specifically with data and compliance and reporting. She helps with all the quarterly reports. We have something between housing, HSC, and RAP. There's 15 grants down here, right? All with different requirements. She helps with all those quarterly, annual reports. And even there's some of them have monthly, like some of our KEPA programs have monthly reports that Treasury is asking for, and she helps prepare those and get them off. And she helps with auditing, and I could go on and on. But anyways, thank you for the horn for Elizabeth. So that is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at her summary.
So what I was going to say was you could share your screen if it's something.
I know all the hype. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
It has some client. I was
Gotcha.
not
Okay.
opposed to that, but it has some client data right now. So I would need to do some work, to show off. I would love to show off Airtable, but maybe I can work with Elizabeth on some de-identify stuff right now, so you can all see it. But
It's like, Elizabeth, you did such a great job. Can you do some more now?
Yeah, yeah. She sits next to me, so usually she can hear me on stuff like this. So I wouldn't be surprised if she is
It's like, great.
already like, great, signing me up for something else. Yeah. Maybe let's talk about that for down the line. But so so good news and some bad news. So the bad news, well, I've got kind of two big kind of, not necessarily bad news, but not good news. But so essentially our performance dropped pretty significantly. So we went from 175 process, which is kind of where just under 200, 150 and 200 is kind of our goal to wind down. And we dropped to 95. So really about half, to 2/3 of where we want to be at. And I was talking with our team, and so there's really a variety of reasons. And definitely not, everyone is working super hard. So it's the biggest one that is everything kind of slowed down because the applications that are left that were being pulled off the wait list there's a pretty long, there's a lot of months, right? It's been a long time, right? Because these are first timers, some of which that have months that go way back. And even if they're not a legal referral yet, the landlord, a lot of these are already working with lawyers, right? And so the complexity has really increased as we're starting to really wind down. So the good news, our wait list continues. We're about at 86. We're continuing to do some data cleanup. We think after we finish the data cleanup, it'll probably be under 60. So that's really good of like actually getting that wait list down. But our actual numbers of churning out dropped pretty significantly. So it was only about 600,000. I say only compared, to past where we're up, 1 million or 2 million. So it's only 600,000. It's still 95 applications processed. But we still are receiving, even though the wait list is not active, we still receive another 102 applications from the buy-and-fors and from legals. So
Wow.
we still are receiving significant applications as the buy-and-fors wind down their contract, and legal just keeps sending people through, right? And you'll notice that the legal, so of those 95, we only processed 19 legal, but the majority of the referrals, over 50 of the referrals were from legal. So the legal referrals are still coming in. They're just taking a lot more time to process. We can't process them as fast. And that's a lot of the time because there's a lag. The landlords are deciding with their counsel whether to take the money or not. That's the number one delay, which we heard is we're all ready to go on our side. The client has done everything. It's the landlord conferring with their lawyer is if they're going to say no and continue to try to press the eviction, or if they're going to take it. And so basically just waiting for that time to go back and forth with the landlord and the lawyer is really adding to some delays. So that's a little bit of where we're at. So it's an interesting place to be right now of kind of, we have a lot of applications active. Some of the navigators have over 100 applications that they're all like waiting on stuff right now. So we have a lot of stuff that we're juggling, but the actual numbers processed go down. So something, not encouraging might be the way, but there's definitely some good reasons for why we've really stepped down processing. The buy-and-fors went down quite a bit from 67 processed to now 24, and I think that's good and bad. I think it's difficult at this stage in the game, doing outreach, but I also think part of that difficulty is because the buy-and-fors did such a good job early. So I think at some level there's kind of a victim of their own success because so many of the folks in their community got access early, which is something I'm so proud of with the program, of how well the outreach went. And we've talked about that in times past, is even the legal folks that are getting evicted have already, most of them, 80% of them, have gotten assistance at one point. And so the outreach went really, really well. And so I think that's my theory on why. I'm curious, Marwan, as a buy-in for leader yourself, if that jives with that theory.
Yeah, absolutely. All the buy-in fours, huge round of applause for their work and their efforts to really do that outreach and get a hold of people that didn't know about the options that exist, connecting them, walking them through the process at a very stressful time in their lives, right? In the lives of their families. But I do agree, trying to find folks that are first time, needing eviction assistance, at some point in time, it's just going to get smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I agree with that assessment. And what's unfortunate about it is there are still so many people that need second, third, fourth round help, and there's just nothing there. So that's the unfortunate piece of it.
It is, and that's the next big piece of bad news, is we are not opening up the wait list for the rest of this year. We did a much better data analysis. We thought there might be a possibility, but we did a much better data analysis of the amount remaining. We have to account for all the applications that we have up in the air, right? We have to account for all the buy-in for applications that could be sent in. And so if we kind of add that all up, we're really getting to the point of about under 1 million, which we really want to give ourselves, because we do not want to, I won't let it happen where we promise something that we can't deliver. That is just so important for us to maintain the trust of all our partner networks and the clients and landlords, that we have to be able to deliver on that. So that's why we really want to be really cautious. And so we're going to essentially, the plan going forward is the buy-in for folks will be able to finish out their contract through the end of the year. Those contracts end right at December, so they'll be able to fulfill all their slots and finish their contract out. If they don't finish that out, those slots will probably be reprioritized. Not probably, they'll be reprioritized to legal. So because it's not going to be that many, that's why we're not doing another public opening, because it's just going to be such a small amount, right? That we want to prioritize that for folks that are being evicted. And there's still so many folks that are being evicted. And so that's where we're going to kind of, if there's any left over, it's going to go to the legal folks. But the buy-in for, we made sure that we will be able to make sure we honor that contract, and they'll be able to refer all the slots that they in their contracts. So they can keep going and finish that out. And then the legal folks, and even with this plan, if the spending gets tight, we're going to have to maybe temporarily turn off the legal referrals till we can see how much is left. So that might be a possibility. We're already talking with our legal partners and preparing them for that could be a possibility. But yeah, there's just such a big amount floating around that are active in process, right? We have so many that are active in process, and that's what really is, we're really accounting for that. It's impossible to sometimes fully know what it's going to be, because you don't know to all the, especially the legal cases, of what, they negotiate, and right, because it's a really a conversation between sometimes Kitsap Legal and DRC and their lawyers, and what that final amount is going to be. So in some cases we're doing some estimating, but that's where we're at. Then next year, the permanent rent assistance program that's being run, that is the permanent program that's kind of Keepa's legacy. It's a lot different. It's a lot less money. And that will be kind of the thing that replaces that. We don't have a contract yet for that, and I think we're still working with the county on what that's going to look like, and so I think we'll have more news when that plan actually gets formulated. But that will be the next time it'll open up to the public, or at least be available, and it'll be different. There's still a buy-in for component, But we still have all these networks we want to try to leverage, our legal network, our buy and for, but it's just such a smaller amount. It's going to be probably 10% of what it was this year, this funding wise. So it's a 90% reduction, or 80 to 90% reduction. So that's just want everyone to prepare, is that the resources are not what they are. This is a state program versus federal, right? The federal programs are all winding down, and this will be permanent, which is good, right? Permanent long term. This is going to keep hopefully getting renewed year in and year out, and just be part of our community support structure, which is awesome. But it is a lot less than the Keep It programs. Questions about that?
Well, there's no, I'll let you finish, and then we'll go to the questions in the chat. I just don't want to forget them because they're super important.
Yeah, I am gonna transition away to some other announcements. Should I finish those now, or do you want to finish questions on the Keep It wait list, or what do you think?
Let's do question 2. Can you speak to the potential continued practices that were implemented during COVID?
Yeah, so there is so much, as difficult as COVID was, and Lord knows it was hard for everybody. I think everyone has scars from the COVID period. The benefit is that really helped us build some really cool networks. It expanded resources, and it really helped us serve Kitsap at a level we were never able to before. Increased shelter beds. The Salvation Army, went to year round. The rescue mission was able to expand. We were able to expand our use with hotels. We had the COVID rent assistance that were able to help a lot of folks, and then we were able to really work with the buy and for and the legal networks, and that was all really because of a lot of COVID funds. Some of the state law added to that as well. Now, some of that is going to go away. There's no doubt about that. I think the Salvation Army is even talking about potentially having to wind down. Our rent assistance funds are going to be nowhere near what they're going to be, but we are trying to keep as much of that as possible. I know the rescue mission is really trying to keep, as much beds and, expand as much as possible, especially at their new site, to have a lot more than they had before. And I think that they're looking at ways to sustain that. With some of us and our relief money, some of the housing money is going to go a little farther. So we've got a longer runway, probably till about September. So that our kind of hotel program and some of our services will stay at that level. And then we're leveraging some new Medicaid dollars. So some of the rent assistance might go away, but our increased case management capacity will hopefully continue to expand, so that we'll at least be able to work with folks at the level we're working with. We were pre-COVID, we were between 120 and 100, or 100 and 120 folks on the caseload at any given time. Now we're pushing 150 and 170. So that's 50 households every month that we're now case managing more than we were pre-COVID. So that's a huge, statistically significant increase in services. And our goal is by 2024 to be over 200. So we want to keep expanding the number of households we can case manage and offer services to. And thanks to some of the longer term programs that weren't COVID, we're able to use COVID as a springboard to get us set up. And then using some of these Medicaid dollars and others, we're able to continue to keep that. So that's one way we're trying to keep. The other is with our permanent rent program, we want to continue to use buy and fors and the legal partners. So we want to continue to use those networks. And then the buy and fors we want to continue to use in our homeless services. And I think that's you're starting to see a lot of positive growth from what the KEPA started into areas that weren't even KEPA programs. And that's, you see, Gather to Grow Together. We're using their transportation teams more. I know that's been happening. I think some of the work with the coalition, Marwan, that you and I are doing, the recordings and getting the information out there, right, for agency partners. Fantastic.
Project
work.
Connect. We're doing Project Connect. We weren't part of that before.
Exactly. And then another one is Foundation for Homeless Poverty Management. Diana and Drayton they have the day center. I think, Marwan, they call it the Rejuvenation Center. Is that what they're calling it? Yeah. Yep, so they're having their own day shelter or rejuvenation center where they're doing case management services, we've been able to partner where they've been able to do some case management. And when we were short staffed, but we had funding, we were able to kind of fund some of the folks when we were short staffed and kind of work together and really do some wraparound, which traditionally we do with a lot of other agencies, right? We just didn't do it necessarily with buy-in for agencies. So I love that now we're doing that with some of the buy-in for agencies. We love wrapping services around having multiple folks at the table. It just makes all of our jobs easier, and so we can serve more folks, and also is better for the client because no one case manager can do everything that the client needs. But if you have 2 or 3, you can get a lot closer to getting them the service, the real, like, true self-sufficiency services that they would need, right, to actually go and get to their goals. So that's what we're continuing to hoping. We want to continue to leverage in our housing services, all these relationships. So some stuff will go away, but I think that's a few examples of some of our COVID policies that were implemented that we want to keep around in various forms. It might look a little different, but definitely in various forms. And same thing with BHA. We have a ton of pre-relationship with BHA that have only gotten stronger during COVID that will continue to move forward.
Did you want to jump in on that, Katie? You know, are there some things that BHA is going to continue to do that were implemented during COVID?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for us, because we have small amount of like COVID funds, like HEPA funds that we could utilize for our residents actually who are behind on rent. So it wasn't open to the public like the HEPA funds through KCR. But one thing I wanted to mention was just how comfortable we are and how flexible we are now. Like we don't just close because of something. Like half of our staff is at home and they're probably going to stay there. But how comfortable we got with being on a camera or virtual meetings. A family member of ours, she's a substance abuse counselor. And she said during COVID, you know, at first it was really hard, you know, to do telehealth and things, but you had to. But that kind of pushed everybody to do it. Now, a lot of them choose to do telehealth, and that's an option. Before it was like, no, our counselors don't do that. No, we don't do that. But now, whatever anybody's comfortable with, you know, it's easier for the counselor sometimes actually able to see their homes, you know, tells a little story too. And so whatever comfort level people have, we have accessibility now. And we don't just close just to, oh no, we can't come into work because the snow or whatever. Like most of our staffers can still answer phones and do things because we were made to connect ourselves and get comfortable with technology. Even from our side, just our staff side is like, wow, we had to be comfortable with, you know, not being in person, but still helping somebody at the same level as we were before. So I feel like that's a huge positive from just, it was hard. It was very difficult, but here we are on the other side. And I feel comfortable saying that, you know, it made us stronger. We're talking about the coalition. So we have the KCR Housing and Homelessness Coalition, and we've been doing hybrid or Zoom meetings for like 2 years. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling our presence and the amount of people who've been able to join those meetings there's more of them because they've been more accessible. You don't have to just go somewhere to have a meeting or you're out of luck. So I appreciate that. I know, Marwan, one of your first podcasts was right before COVID, mm-hmm. if I'm correct. And
yeah,
so
it
was in person.
Yeah.
And it was in person. So to say that like this all began and then you had to like quickly say, oh, I can just do this on video and don't have to be in person and learn all the technology. So we're thankful for it. I think it's hard to look at the positives, but my family's comfortable being on Zoom. We're comfortable using video more, you know, to connect, and it doesn't feel like we're missing out. So I appreciate that.
There's a lot of cool things you can do in a online platform. I'm not using them all now, like games and different icebreakers to make people still feel connected. And I, for one, love health appointments. If I don't have to drive to the doctor, it's great. So I don't miss appointments. I'm more likely to be consistent in my care. So I think those are some positive things too. So Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for that. You see, everyone has a different input. That's why I love hearing from everyone. So great. So let's answer this question and then we'll switch gears for the other part, Matt, because it kind of goes together. We talk about this, but it's important that we keep mentioning this because you did provide new information, right? Salvation Army may not be doing the same level of emergency sheltering that they were doing before. We're waiting on the permits for the rescue mission in Port Orchard, right? The funding for COVID relief funds for KEPA is being exhausted. So there at the same time, there's a lot of issues. We've got recession and all these other things going on, and the holidays are coming. So, what advice can we give individuals and families that are either struggling with the rent or may find themselves struggling for rent? I know one of those is ready to rent, but I'll let Katie talk about that
Did you want me to talk about that now? Because yes,
one.
it's the difficulty we've done the whole 6 weeks now. Lori did the ready to rent course, and and it's amazing. And now it's like turnkey. Like whenever we need to do a course, we can do it. The hard thing about it is there's a lot of we license it from a provider in Oregon who really has put it together, this curriculum, and Lori customized it to really provide interactive classes 2 hours a week, but it's a 6-week commitment. And I think it's very difficult to commit to that type of class, right? I wish we could just provide it as like an hour course or like handouts or worksheets, and there's just a lot of licensing requirements. So she's definitely was successful, and she's excited to see what we can do with that. But what it is it provides all the tools you need to like feel confident in your housing search, whether talking to landlords, looking at your credit report and like writing them a letter and saying, I saw this on my credit report, this is why, and at least having them attach a note to your credit score or your report, so there's some background there. Making sure that if you know there's something on your credit report, that you mention it to the landlord first. Don't let them find it. Say, oh, this, you're going to see this, and really having those interactions. And there's such good information in that course. I think the 6 weeks commitment is really hard. I think it is a really good course for voucher holders when they first get issued a voucher. But again, they're already committed to like, oh, I need to find a house. So like, it's really hard to say, yes, I'll be there every 6 weeks. So we want to encourage that, as well as case managers going and funneling that information through to their people. So it's a great course, and yay, 6 weeks, it's done. Lori did an amazing job, and I know that everybody who took it learned a lot. And we don't have the next one scheduled, but that is one of the tools we can provide, is education on searching and finding a home. So,
Katie, I would love to talk, because we used to have that kind of an hour version. It was not nearly, I think, as robust
right.
and in depth and all the good material. But I'm wondering if we could partner and almost do a train the trainer, so we can train some staff to do an hour.
That's what I want to do. Yeah. Lori and I talked about that, and I know that's what we want to do. So, what's our limitations? If this ready to rent can only be taught this way, what can we provide as a supplement to still educate the community? So anyway, that is one, and I'm very consistent on this, but I say during the holidays, I know we want to buy presents and I know we want to be gifting, but make sure you pay your rent first. There's a lot of opportunities to get food, utility assistance, things like that. But once you start, being behind on your rent, it's going to be hard to get housing again. So pay your rent first. There's even, I've seen so many posts, and people are so welcome to this. Like, if you really need something and you want to provide a gift for your family, ask. Just be willing to ask. It's okay to ask, be honest, but don't get behind on your rent or your mortgage. That's my suggestion.
Matt, I'm gonna tell a quick story and then get your tips. When I was a kid, one Christmas, it was so hard. You know, we got to pick out our sugary cereal, whatever cereal we wanted. And that's all that my dad could afford for us. And so to this day, I hate tricks. But I kept that box of tricks for like 8 weeks, and it got stale. But at the end of it, I tell that story because as a kid, you feel some kind of way, right? You want gifts and you want presents. But we had food, we still had a holiday dinner, and we were all together, we were all safe, we were all warm, and those were some of the fondest times of the holidays for me. And so, when I talk with a lot of people, parents, they feel like, I want to do this for my kids, and I want them to have this, and I want them to have a good holiday. And at the end of it, as an adult, I think a lot of feedback adults give to their younger selves is, we really appreciate just being together and being safe, and being with your siblings if you have them, and that really is the most important thing. So definitely pay your rent first, and create the experiences. And there are a lot of resources out there. What I would say as the tips and tricks is, if you've been working with Buy-in Fours and KCR and BHA or any other agencies, continue to work with them, stay in contact with them, keep that relationship going, because as other opportunities come up, you're going to be in the know, you're going to be in the loop, and you'll hear about it first and be able to take advantage of those things. Matt, what you got for us?
Oh, I think you two both said, yeah, some really good principles. Yeah, so I'll just second that. Pay rent first, and yeah, I mean, and Marwan, what I think I hear you saying, and I really agree with, is the trauma of being evicted is a lot worse than the trauma of not getting Christmas gifts, right? And so I think in the long term, and you're right, really, there's so much research that yes, kids think they want gifts, but time with the parents, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do. You can go sledding with the kids, right, on Christmas, or there's a lot of creative ways. If you don't have as many gifts as you would like, and I know it's really easy to say and not as hard to do, and there's transportation, but that's just one example of, I think, the experiences that can help get folks through it if that's the decision point. Now, I know some folks that's not even the decision point, right?
Right.
They're so far behind rent, and there's not any amount of budgeting that will help at that point. But definitely for the folks that are in that category, I think that's huge. And yes, like with our energy, we have a new energy season right now, so you can apply, for energy assistance if you're low income, and if you have a shut off notice, and are working with our energy department, energy can pause the shut off notice to give you time to collect your documents. And so that's, I think, probably the first thing is, you're right, is right now, especially as we're coming to the end of COVID, the rent assistance resources are getting sparse, but there's still some utility resources out there. So our utility season, right, we're taking applications, is open. So I think that's a great recommendation, Katie, Marwan, of yes, try to get, take care of rent and then get utilities, try to get help with the other pieces of that first. I think there's also, energy saving tips as well, right? During the season of trying to just be, where you're setting the thermostat to, right? You can save some money by setting the thermostat lower, and different pieces like that. But I think the last thing in our wheelhouse is, if you are, actively getting evicted, right now the legal channel is still open, right? So if you get that 14-day notice and you're being referred to KidSAP Dispute Resolution Center, then make sure you follow up with that paperwork so you'll get that referral. Those referrals still are active. Might not be for much longer, but that is still active. And just like what Marwan said, is make sure you are responding, you are not delaying, and that is how you could still get some of this last bit of assistance. Again, this is not an ideal model, because if you're already going through the eviction process, your relationship with your landlord has deteriorated. This should only be if everything else fails, because these are not good situations. Lawyers are involved. It is not a fun process, is dealing with it, and your landlords are certainly not happy, and are typically, even if you make it out of this, the landlords, some of them even said is like, I don't want you, I'll do whatever I can to not renew the lease and to not write the landlords do not end this process happy campers typically. Sometimes in the best case scenario, we can repair it, but a lot of times the landlords do get really upset, and that just makes it harder rental environment for you to be in when your landlord is upset, even if we are able to stave off the eviction. So this definitely is the last resort, but make sure you follow up. Awesome. We got the clear hotline there. Yeah. And then make sure you really reply to that 14-day notice from Dispute Resolution Center. So I think that's the biggest advice for folks that are struggling with rent is, yeah, budget, priorities, energy, ask for help other ways, and then at the last resort, go through the KEEP program as far as it's open.
All right. Thank you for that. And we will continue to talk about that because folks undoubtedly are going to have issues every month, or every week we come on, someone is going to be in need, and someone else can hear that conversation. Tony shared information about Molina and free cell phones. And so you can come down to KCR and get a free cell phone if you need that. And at $40 or $50 a month, that's that's it. These things are expensive. So what else you got for us, Matt?
Yeah, I'm glad Tony talked about that. Yeah, we've been having the Molina, the healthcare, and then their I think it's from Q-Link or SafeLink, but essentially they come once a month now. We have them at our Rainier build. I'll try to get when they're coming next and bring it on the next show. We can start advertising the calendar. But okay. Yeah, we've got them coming once a month, and they are fantastic outreach folks. And so folks can come see Housing Solutions Center and then get signed up for healthcare or the phone. The phone is the most popular. We call him the phone dude. I forgot his first name. I need to remember what his name is.
Wow, he's the phone dude.
I know. He's the phone dude. And I feel really bad. I cannot remember his name right now, but super nice guy. But he does a really good job of getting folks signed up, and that's been really successful so far. So yeah, thanks for reminding me of that.
That's funny.
My other two are, we have we still have positions opening, and we definitely have talked about this. So we look at all types of experience, especially lived experience. So if you are all interested in being a case manager, that positions are, we have some that are open now and some that are coming on this next week or two. So we are still ramping up. So that's still happening. And then I wanted to last give a shout out to BHA's Diversity and Equity Inclusion Committee and Kitsap Mental Health Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee, as they were we had a lunch and learn at Kitsap Mental Health where I talked about Housing Solutions Center and housing, and I talked about a lot about just kind of the overall KCR resources, and that was organized by Dr. Cindy Caldwell, and she is fantastic. And I think, Katie, you even came to that, right?
Oh, I think you remember. I had some questions.
You did.
Because it was really good, and these are the conversations we need, right? More conversations, because this is how, what you talked about before, Matt, is how we network. Is we have to talk to each other and just know, oh, I didn't know you did that. Oh my gosh, you know what? We've been dealing with this, and we could have just gone to KCR, and those conversations are just so important right now, to network everybody together. So I learned something new. I always learn something new about KCR, and it was a really good session. So thank you, Matt.
Yeah, it went so well, but I really brought that up as this. I think there's a group we're really trying to collaborate more and expand services, but also they're doing some amazing things. I know we had the BHA, DEI. Is that what it's called, Katie? Is it called the diversity?
Yeah, we call the team the DEI ambassadors at BHA.
DEI ambassadors. Thank you. They did such a good job of talking, but I just wanted to plug Kitsap Mental Health and Dr. Caldwell, because what they're doing over there, I was so impressed. And Marwan, that might be a future guest. to have her on to talk about some of the initiatives, because they have done, I think, an amazing job at really trying to embrace this work. They already have multiple committees of folks at multiple levels of staff to provide feedback that goes all the way up the chain. And that was fantastic. So I learned a lot from them. And I think we've all agreed the next level is for the three of us to communicate on how we can, as kind of the three, some of the larger housing, right, and service-oriented agencies, how can we collaborate on diversity and equity and inclusion initiatives together, and how can we cross-train and really get on the same page as far as a community and have a, kind of a flow, since we do have a lot of overlap in this work. So just wanted to plug that. There hopefully some good stuff coming, and we already had some really good kind of initial ball rolling and some conversations and cross-training. So really excited about that. And big thank you to the BHA's team. Just all showed up. That was the amazing thing, is I think Dr. Caldwell invited, and like everyone just came. There was just as many BHA folks as there was Kids Up Mental Health folks. It was fantastic. So
oh, nice.
BHA all in, and just wanted to shout out both those organizations, KMH and BHA, because this is a lot of behind the scenes stuff that's really important and just doesn't get a lot of recognition. So just want to express my appreciation, shout out for you all for really doing a lot of good leading on that front and helping us.
Well, hit the horn.
Hit the horn.
There you go. We need the horn. The horn is important. Horn's not going away. All right. So that's a lot, man. It seems I was telling Katie, before you came on, Matt, because we've got the breakfast, but it seems like I hadn't seen Katie in a few weeks, and it's like, oh man, and then there's so much stuff in such a short amount of time, and then even with you coming on and sharing what you shared today, Tony was on Monday, and you guys really didn't even talk about the same things, right? He did talk about Head Start and employment opportunities for Head Start and the need there, but there's just that much information, right? It's so much, and it's hard to have access to that. So this is it's important for people to be able to get this information, and also to cross share information and build synergy there too. So it's great. And then also, beyond the podcast, I'm one of the buying for, so I'm also getting the information in real time so I can take it back to my team. So it's just very helpful. So I'm sitting in a learning position at the same time listening to you guys speak. So thank you again. So why don't I switch and I will talk a little bit and give an update, which I don't normally do. But the first thing, let's see, I will share, because we did have our pancake breakfast last week. So I do want to talk a little bit about that. But first, let me pull this up for everyone. So 2 Fridays ago, we were able to purchase our first 15-passenger van. So we're super excited about that. We used it this last Sunday that just passed a few days ago to take, I think, 10 kids. I can't remember how many kids were in that van. And I actually drove the van to a haunted forest. And so the kids left me to the ghost and the fiends. So it was very scary, but it was a really great event. So we're looking forward to being able to serve more people all at once to do different things. And so we are already partnering with, the Black Student Union and many other organizations to transport folks. So we'll be able to do more with less, less of a carbon footprint in some situations, and it'll also be able to expand our service as we grow our fleet. So I just wanted to put that out there for everyone, and also let people know that through Kitsap Long-Term Aging and Care, if you do need the vaccine or a booster, transportation is free if you're elderly or disabled. And so you can give us a call and we'll get that set up for you. And if you take advantage and say, hey, I'd love to go to the grocery store and kind of, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, we definitely encourage that. So just give us a call, 360-373-3000, and we are here to serve your needs. And also, I should say, you can also book online, so you don't even have to call us. If you don't have any really special requirements, you can just book on our website, g2g2.org. So real easy there. But now let me go ahead and talk about last Wednesday at the pancake breakfast. So what we wanted to do is just to give a little bit of backstory. There are a lot of individuals, organizations, and conglomerates of organizations doing a lot of great work in the community. And what we wanted to do is really address one of the major issues down on MLK, which was restrooms and garbage and things like that. We really wanted to focus there, and so we wanted to do something a little bit different because when you're dealing with hard issues, folks can be upset, right? Because we can always do better. But we didn't want this to be a finger pointing thing and you could have done better and this should have been done. We wanted to live in the solution and be collaborative as possible. So we decided to use this pancake breakfast and cast a wide net and invite everyone, folks that were experiencing homelessness, Salvation Army, KCR, Northwest Hospitality was there. Kirsten Jewell from the county was there. We really just casted a wide net, and I'm not going to be able to say all the people that were there because there were so many folks that showed up. But we got together, we broke into small groups, and one of the things that I thought was really important is everyone doesn't get the same information. So there was a lot of, for instance, there's a lot of rumors going around on how Salvation Army operates. And so we sent out a questionnaire to Salvation Army and just asked those questions and then shared it with everyone, right? So people didn't have preconceived notions. And then if things were indeed happening, why it was happening, what were the policies and procedures behind it. So while there may be a negative effect on clients, what is that reason? Why is it? Is that outside of their locus of control? And so that was very illuminating. And so there was a lot of learning that took place, and we looked at seeing what we can do in that area. So we all met, and we left from that day, and we're going to meet again. So the group is definitely committed in doing some more of the work. And Jeff Coughlin was there because he is the councilman that is his district. And they had a budget meeting that next day. And then he sent me this in the evening. So I'm going to share this email and read it. It says, "Hi, Marwan. Thank you so much for hosting the meeting today morning and bringing together so many stakeholders of our downtown community for a really productive session. I wanted to report that at tonight's council budget meeting, with the support of my fellow council members, I was able to secure $10,000 in the 2023 budget specifically for the downtown MLK area restroom porta potty facility. The budget still has to go through a November 2nd public hearing, a November 9th council study session, and a November 16th public hearing and final vote. But I fully expect this amount will not be reduced. While the exact location and other details are to be determined, the council was supportive of the Public Safety Committee working with the community and mayor to figure out these details. Please share this with the stakeholders. And again, my thanks to you and them for the past future efforts in making this happen. I know it's not a large amount, but hopefully it's a start that we can build upon for the future. Cheers, Jeff." So I'm super excited about that. And yes, it's a very small amount, but at the end of the day, you have to look at all the agencies that do work centered around housing and the unhoused. This hasn't been done, so this is an effort, a team effort of everyone coming together and living in the solution, and to have a response and to get something out of it the very next day is super impressive. So I'm just ecstatic about that. So, Matt, you were there. You want to kind of reflect on the day and tell me what you think about the news since you're just now hearing about it.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think there's a lot of people that have been advocating, and so I think it's an awesome. I mean, this is kind of how government's supposed to work: is you have folks advocate, right, and you bring people together, and you bring the decision makers together, and you can kind of come up with solutions to make your community better. So I think that is a huge positive. And Marwan, big credit to you in facilitating that with a lot of voices, right? It's easy. It's hard to make policy when you have a huge room of people with all different opinions, right? But I think what was good about that is you broke people off, got them thinking about topics, then came back together. And, it's not the solution everyone advocated for, but I think at least a lot of people were thinking about, different ways of solving this, and also just information sharing, right, to help dispel. That's probably the biggest success, in addition to securing some funding, is actually getting the Salvation Army and actually people that have been critical, maybe of the Salvation Army, to understand and be in the same room. I know, Marwan, you've hosted some events where folks have been very critical of KCR, right? But to be able to be in that room and answer the questions, to at least, instead of the rumor mill and people getting frustrated and having frustrations based off actual policy, but being able to address frustrations based off misconceptions, right? Like being able to actually address that is really helpful in action. So then people can really at least have frustration over policy that's actually accurate. And I think that was maybe similar for the Salvation Army, is to be able to be like, let's at least talk the same language and dispel information that's just not true. Because it's very easy when folks are frustrated, right, to kind of build the staircase up. And I thought that was a very productive meeting of helping de-escalate some potential frustration, but also help. So, what I think a lot of people came away with empathy for how difficult a job the Salvation Army does. That's what I heard a lot, especially in the early meetings, people being like, oh man, that's really tough. Because that's really the truth of it. All our jobs in this business are really, really hard. And sometimes we fall short of the mark, but that's usually not for lack of trying or cruelty or malintent. It's because of lack of resources, staff, right, and actual capacity to really run things how we want. And I think that's maybe a better collaborative way. So how you accomplish that, and then we're able to focus it enough to actually get some policy. I think, there's still the same concerns. Like, I love that we're trying this, but I still think there's the same concerns of, some of the unsupervised, restrooms, right, tend to have some issues with, some of the sharps and use of potential substances. And I think that's all stuff we need to continue to talk about. But I love that there's at least some momentum, and like, let's keep talking and let's keep trying to figure out how we can make this work. And so, yeah, more positives, definitely way more positives, I think, came out of that. And I don't really think there's much negatives. So good job, Marwan. Very impressive.
Thank you. Katie, what's your thoughts hearing about this at the first time?
Oh, I'm just excited it went well. I know there was a lot of like planning in it, and it was like, how do we get the right voices in the right place and have a productive conversation? It sounds like it did go that way. And really, thanks for you and your team for just pushing and you just have to keep talking about it, right? Because it's easy to say, I want to do this, and then not tell anybody, and then whoever shows up, it's okay, and then you had the decision makers in the room, and that is a key. That is so important. The fact that they got to hear firsthand and they had the opportunity to speak with everyone. I'm excited, and I'm excited what this leads to. I think you're creating a model that works, and a model you could use to do it more. This is just the beginning, and sounds like there's a lot of work to do still. But again, what Matt said, this is how policy, like, this is how you make it important to the government, right? You talk about it. You create an organized, session where you can actually have action items based on that session. And it's exciting. I'm also glad you had that questionnaire about Salvation Army. That's so creative, and it's so needed. I think managing expectations, right? We do it even in any of our jobs. We let people assume what we do. Instead, we can say, what do you expect of us? Oh, I actually don't do that, but this is what I do. And it dispels any of that, and you can get on the same page. But you have to be willing to open up and talk about what those expectations are. And it doesn't mean if you ask them that you have to meet those. I think that's the biggest thing, is like Salvation Army, because somebody expects them to do something, they just always fail. No, it's like, oh, well, actually, I don't do that, but we do this, and this is why we don't do that. And it's like, oh, now we're on the same page. So it's just, again, the beginning of that. And it makes me super excited, and congrats. And I can't wait to see what happens with that $10,000.
Me either. So there is a lot of work to do, and one interesting thing that has come from it, and not to pick on Salvation Army, but they talked about they don't provide food to those that have been kicked out and broke the rules, and they talked about why that is, and there's safety concerns and other things that are around that. But that we need to know that, right? Because they folks will use a pejorative and call them starvation army, right? But not having context as to why everyone can't eat there, depending on what the situation is, and also the fact that everyone doesn't want to receive services from Salvation Army. But
Yeah.
that also means that people do need to eat, and so. And what's so interesting about it was, Bailey wasn't able to make it to that event, but then like a few days later, Bailey's like, "Hey, we're heading back downtown, and we're gonna be providing food downtown." So, it's like I said, before, there's a lot of good people in this county that want to do good work, that do good work, and so that is gonna end up filling a gap, right? So we're trying to address bathrooms, but people do need meals, so that's another thing that is gonna get addressed. So just really excited about that. Yes, for sure. This isn't the end. This is just the beginning. We need to advocate for more. The end goal is for everyone to be housed. But we can't have nothing until they're housed, right? So there are some basic needs that we want to see people have. So we're going to keep the conversation going, and I would just encourage people to try to do different things. And if you feed people, it helps. So.
I think that's a win recipe of starting with food. That's a good way to start challenging conversations.
Well, you got to put the right bait on the fishing pole. So it's like, oh, it's pancakes, and this time we did what was it? Sausage
Quiche.
and gravy biscuits
And quiche.
Quiche, yeah. So we kicked it up a notch for this one. So
yeah, that's great.
So I'm
really
sorry
good.
you missed out on that, Katie. We'll have to make you your own sausage and gravy so you can.
I'm excited, and I'm also excited for you talking about the Salvation Army. It makes me think of Project Connect and how the resource fair is usually at the Salvation Army in Bremerton. So I'm curious if there's a location yet for this resource fair, or yes.
Too early to say. There are
Uh-huh.
2, maybe 3 locations.
Oh wow.
So shout out to Joe, who is now part of G2 Housing. So I do attend those meetings, but they're at a really rough time for me. So I'm trying to listen. So I'm only kind of half hearing. But yeah, so coming soon. Stay tuned. So right now it's looking like 2 or 3. And so kind of working on finalizing that. So it does sound like there's a good group in there from what I heard. I think the meeting was yesterday. All the days blend together, but I think we met yesterday. Pretty sure we met yesterday.
I'm just
We met
excited
this
for
week.
see all this happening, right? It's happening. It really is. And I'm glad we get a chance to talk about it even when it's in progress, because in the past, if without the podcast, maybe nobody would have heard about all this happening and they would have seen it in the budget. But now there's all these opportunities to get involved at the ground floor. And so exciting times, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, and please, City Council is tonight, so you can make your public comment. It is budget time, and just as Councilman Coughlin was saying, November 2nd, which is today, is the first public hearing, and then November 9th is council study session, and then November 16th is the final public hearing. So tonight's really important to have your voice heard, and it doesn't matter if it's downtown and homelessness. It could be healthcare out in Silverdale with Franciscan, or sidewalks. So whatever you're advocating for, just make your voice heard, because they can't address your needs if they don't know what they are. So, and we are their constituents. So I just encourage you to be vocal, and that's important. So this was chock full today. How do you guys feel?
Feel good. Thanks.
Good.
Good.
Did anyone carve Halloween pumpkins?
My daughter did with my husband. So there's one, but yeah, it's okay. I'm okay for being just taking the pictures of the pumpkins.
Just
I'm
taking the
okay.
pictures. So I carved 4 pumpkins. I did the bat symbol. I should have done the Black Panther though, since the movie's getting ready to come out. So I missed the mark there. But it's a tradition for us. So we love pumpkin seeds. So we love roasting the pumpkin seeds in the oven with a little olive oil and different seasonings. So that's one of our favorite things. So yeah, a lot of fun. So I think we've had a great show today. We will be back next week for our deep dive. And man, we're supposed to be talking about something specific that Kirsten had advocated
It was
for.
monitoring and why we have so
Is it
many
monitoring?
forms.
Thank you, Katie. I can always count on Katie. I'm like, I don't remember what it was. But it was a
Yes,
deep dive or
the
something.
monitoring. I'm excited for this one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Katie, would you please send me a reminder so I can send it to Kirsten?
Yes.
Because I think Kirsten and I both might be thinking like, what are we supposed to be deep
No,
diving
she's
about?
so good though. She's got it on her calendar. She comes in and she's really great. It's
She's
so
ready
great.
to
She's on
rock.
the show every
She doesn't miss
month.
anything. She is always on it.
Yes, she is. I was so happy to hear that she went to the pancake breakfast. Anyway, it just makes me happy. And if you want a last word, do you want a last word, Marwan?
Yeah. Oh man, you calling for the last word. I love it.
Okay, so there's 2 events I want to talk about. The first being, let me share my screen real quick. I just posted about this on our website, so I want to make sure to share it. Okay, I got to get back to this and share the screen.
All right.
I actually got to run to the next meeting, so I will sign off. But it has been a pleasure as always. See you, Marwan.
Right.
All
Thanks,
right.
Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, so this is our homepage, bremertonhousing.org, and I posted kind of a summary about, I think if you recall a few weeks back, we talked about this award that we won for a community response. So I have a summary now, and right here, there's even a video with our new YouTube page. You'll be proud of us. We have a YouTube page now. So I'm not going to go show it right now, but it's our acceptance speech. And let me see here. Look, YouTube page, Marwan.
I love
so I'm
it.
going to go back to it. So this is again bremertonhousing.org. What I want to talk about is we want to make sure that we're talking about these things that we did and continue to work on reducing barriers. Our first doing with the awardees. And it's free, it's virtual. And if you go again to bremertonhousing.org, you can click on the picture, learn more about the event and who will be there. Jill's actually going to be there, so everybody's excited about that.
Really?
And you can register. So let's see, where is the registration button? Click here to register. And then it takes you to a Zoom registration. So again, bremertonhousing.org has all the information on that front page. And the other event I want to talk about on November 8th is the last focus group for the community needs assessment. So this is the community needs assessment, kcr.org/CNA. And they're doing, I don't think the survey's open anymore, but they're still doing focus groups. So the last one is going to be a hybrid meeting, I hear. So it's on November 8th at 5:30 p.m. via Zoom. So you have to contact this person at ametuku@kcr.org for more information and to get signed up and probably get the Zoom link because it's not on their website right now. But I just wanted to let you know that is the last one to share your thoughts, your community needs, have a nice discussion. But I do hear it's hybrid. So during the in-person version, there's usually food and childcare is what I hear. So again,
and a $25 gift card.
Oh,
If you come
see,
in
earn a
person,
$25 gift card. There we go. See that?
Mhm.
So it just doesn't say hybrid, but the last message I got was it is hybrid. So November 8th, 5:30 p.m. And just go to kcr.org/CNA to get all the information and contact them to get on the list.
Absolutely. And just scroll to the bottom there because you won't see it otherwise.
I can't. There we go. Stop sharing. There we go.
You were in it wasn't The Matrix, what's the one with Leonardo DiCaprio? Inception.
Oh, yes.
If
There was.
you were in
Yes,
Inception
and
there.
it's hard because this specific one, it's not like Zoom where it's on its own app. It's like in my tabs on my browser. So I'm like, how am I going to find it if I have to show this one first?
That's why I
So
live with dual monitors.
November 4th, you'll get to see Jill talking at a coffee hour, bremertonhousing.org. You can find the information on that. And November 8th is the community focus group. Go to kcr.org/CNA to find the information. So,
can I play your video?
I mean,
I won't do it
can,
now because it's 4:17, but I will broadcast it on there and tell people to subscribe. BHA YouTube channel. How influential.
Well, you can be the first one. There's no subscribers. I just created it today because I was like,
oh, really?
We could have posted it on our website, but we're like, we want to start posting more videos. So YouTube is we think the best opportunity to get that information out there. So
nice. I love it. So yeah, let me go ahead and subscribe. Bam. And I'll hit the notification bell. And a good event is a good rule of thumb is to select all. So a lot of times people say, I don't get all the notifications for the conduit. Go into your notifications. Don't hit personalized. Don't hit none. Hit all. Otherwise, you won't get all of the shows. So yes, I will air this. And I am the first sub. Very special. All right. Well, I thank everyone for joining us. I'm going to extend this just for 1 second longer, just so I can give you guys the link to the city council meeting tonight. Should you want to attend, of course, I will be broadcasting it live here at, I believe, 5:30 p.m. Public comment is early, so don't wait. Don't be late because you don't want to miss your opportunity to comment. And here is the link, which is in the chat. So those of you that are watching can just copy and paste it. And I should probably put the website for City Council so you have access to that too. All right. So the next 3 weeks are very important for City Council. You don't want to miss it. Public comment tonight, study session next Wednesday, and then the final public comment for the budget is that final Wednesday. So I will see you guys in about an hour and 11 minutes. So for Katie, Matt, I am Marwan. This is the Conduit Network. We'll see you next